Hey, if you'd like to earn CEUs for this webinar, join the Safeopedia community at the link in the description below. Now on to the show.
Want to welcome everybody to today's webinar. Whether you're joining from across the globe or right next door, we're honored you're spending your time with us today. If you're like Amy and I, maybe you're up late watching Stanley Cup playoffs, so make sure that coffee mug is full and ready to go. My name's Scott Cuthbert from Safeopedia, and our mission is to support and uplift safety leaders around the world with knowledge, resources, and the community they need to help make their workplace safer. Before we get started in the webinar, I just want to say thank you for the great work that you do. Often happens behind the scenes, but the impact you have on the families, communities, and organizations is profound. Thank you for everything that you do, keeping people safe. At the bottom of the screen, you'll see that there's a Q&A icon. So the chat's turned off today, but you can post your questions in the Q&A section, and we will do our best to get to all of those questions before we wrap up in an hour from now. Today's webinar is If They Don't See It, It Doesn't Work, Making Job Site Safety Visible and Compliant. The webinar has been made possible with the support of Accuform NMC, a preferred manufacturer member of AD Safety Network, and a longtime supporter of Safety Network. We've actually been working with Accuform NMC before we were official partners of AD, so it definitely predates that relationship. Our presenter today is Amy Olson, who will be walking us through the most common safety visibility gaps found on job sites today and how to address them using simple, effective identification solutions. With that, it's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker. Amy, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm super excited to just dive right in and tell you that today is really about one thing, helping you improve safety on your job sites. And not by adding more processes or complexity, but by making safety communication clearer. Sorry, had something pop up. All right, clearer and more visible, because in most cases, the issue isn't that the safety programs don't exist, it's that they're not consistently seen, understood, or followed. So today we're going to walk through where those breakdowns happen and how to fix it. So here's where we're going to go today. First, a quick introduction to who we are and why this matters. Then we'll look at where job site safety typically breaks down. We'll walk through common visibility gaps and what causes them, and then we'll talk about what's changing in compliance. And finally, some practical ways to improve communication and reduce risk. By the end, you should be able to walk onto a job site and quickly identify where those communication gaps exist and what you can do about them. Quick introduction, my name is Amy Olson, Marketing Manager for Safety Identification at Accuform NMC. I've been in the marketing space for well over 20 years and in safety identification for a total of 6 months so far. I have a lot to learn still, but what I do know is that Accuform NMC has the broad knowledge to help customers stay safe, stay compliant, and operational for over 90 years. We specialize in safety identification, everything from signs, tags, labels, and custom solutions. We also specialize across industrial and construction environments. And really, what this means for you is that we understand the problems that you are dealing with on job sites every single day. So let's jump right in. This is the most important idea of the entire presentation. Job sites are constantly changing. Crews are rotating, equipment is moving, hazards shifting, and conditions always evolving. Every single one of those changes introduces a new risk, and when communication doesn't keep up with those changes, that's when the breakdowns begin to happen. Safety communication has to move just as fast as the job site does. If it doesn't, even good safety programs will start to fail. So let's talk about the reality that we live in today. These are the most cited OSHA violations. They really don't change much year to year. If you look at 2024, 2023, they're going to be very similar, just maybe in different orders. What's important here is that most of them tie back to the same root issues: communication, visibility, and identification. And that's really the key point. Safety isn't just about having those procedures in place, it's about making them visible. Because if workers don't see it, they can't follow it. So, construction certainly isn't slowing down, and neither is the complexity of managing that safety. There are more workers, there's more movement, more phases, which is creating more exposure and more opportunity for those miscommunications. So the challenge isn't demand, the challenge is keeping safety communication clear as complexity begins to increase. These are some of the most common breakdowns that we see on job sites. There's missing signage, handwritten tags, inconsistent messaging, just poor visibility. And these aren't small issues. They lead directly to miscommunication, delayed response, incidents happening, and failed inspections. And the reason that this happens is simple. Again, job sites move fast, processes are manual, and temporary fixes become permanent. So this is a simple way to think about improving safety communications. First, you want to identify the gap. Something that is missing, unclear, or inconsistent. Again, back to those handwritten signs or handwritten tags. Second, understand the impact of that gap. And then third, start with one clear fix, something simple and visible, and then build from there. Most improvements don't start with a full overhaul. They start with one correction that improves the clarity. And that one fix often leads to a broader improvement across the site. So let's talk about what's changing right now in compliance. There have been quite a few changes over the last 2 years, probably. Compliance certainly isn't staying the same. It's definitely becoming more visible, more specific, and more enforced. PPE requirements are becoming more precise to fit properly with every worker. Heat safety expanding rapidly right now. Documentation and reporting expectations are increasing, and overall, there's more focus on exposure risks. And here's the key point. If communication isn't visible, it doesn't count. So, why this matters? Compliance is not optional. Enforcement is increasing, mistakes more costly, and standardization is becoming even more critical. The more complex the job site becomes, the more important that clear communication becomes. Because safety isn't failing due to a lack of procedures, it fails when those procedures aren't clearly seen, understood, or followed. And every job is different, but they all share one thing. They're complex environments that require clear and consistent communication. And as those projects scale, the need for standardizing those systems also increases. And when compliance becomes more demanding, communications become more critical. So no matter your industry or what type of construction zone you may be in, the importance of compliance is as important as ever. As projects get larger and more complex, you can't rely on a one-size-fits-all solution either. That's where the custom site-specific identification becomes critical. At this point, I want to pause for just a second because this is pretty important. Most teams aren't dealing with a lack of effort. Once again, they're dealing with the complexity. There's moving parts, there's a lot of requirements, and there's a lot of pressure to get it right. What teams really need is the clarity and prioritization. Not everything has to be fixed all at once, but something does need to be fixed first. And once you start here, it becomes much easier to build the consistency across the rest of the site. And if you're working through those challenges, whether it's identifying the gaps, figuring out what's compliant, or just knowing where to start, that's where we can begin to support you. Now, let's bring this to life and talk about some actual solutions that you can bring to your sites. Everything that we've talked about up to this point leads into this section, and this is where you start turning those observations into real action. So, as construction projects get bigger and more complex, communication becomes harder to manage. You've got more people on site, more phases, everything happening at the same time, and more movement across the job site. And once again, every one of those variables increases the risk of something being missed or misunderstood. So the challenge isn't just having the right safety procedures in place, it's making sure that those procedures are clearly communicated consistently across the site. And that's where the identification plays a critical role. Signage, tags, labels, visual messaging, these aren't just supporting tools, they're what makes safety expectations visible and actionable in real time. And as the projects scale, that communication, like I said, can't be one size fits all. It has to match the specific job site, those specific risks, and the way the teams are actually working day to day. So this is where that shift happens from just placing products to building clear, consistent communication systems that reduce the risk and improve safety across the site. Now, like I said, if they don't see it, it doesn't work. This is one of the most important principles in job site safety. What we often see is missing or outdated signage, inconsistent messaging, or just poor visibility. The compliance is missed hazards, confusion, and the impact is missed hazards, OSHA violations, and confusion. And the solution here is just visible, clear, standardized signage. Site safety and compliance signs are one of the fastest ways to improve safety communication across the job site. What we see also on site with temporary tags or safety tags is things that are missing, damaged, or again, handwritten. Temporary hazards aren't clearly marked, information isn't consistent. The impact of this, again, is miscommunication, increased risk, failed inspections. Because if a worker doesn't clearly understand the status of equipment of an area, they make assumptions, and assumptions are where those incidents can begin to happen. The solution is a consistent, durable tagging system that clearly communicates those status and hazards. And tags are one of the fastest ways to improve clarity on a job site because they are immediate, visible, and easy to update. So who's on site? Can you tell? With hard hat labels, where we see a lack of clear identification, is workers without labels, unclear roles, and no real easy way to identify who's responsible for what. That impact is confusion, slower response in emergencies, and reduced accountability. When something happens, time is lost trying to figure out who is qualified or who's responsible. And the solution is really clear role-based identification systems, color coding, labels, and standardized formats that allow the workers to immediately understand who is who. This improves the communication, accountability, and response times across the entire site. All right, let's talk PPE. Now, what we see is unclear or inconsistent PPE communication. Requirements are posted in some places, missing in others, or just simply ignored altogether. The impact is non-compliance, again, that increased exposure and a higher risk of injuries, especially now with those more specific PPE requirements coming from compliance. the clarity matters more than ever. And that solution is visible, standardized PPE communications, clear signage at every entry point, and work zones that reinforces those expectations. This removes the guesswork and makes compliance much easier to follow. All right, the next one is fence wraps and banners. Like it says on the slide here, your job site is a billboard. Use it. What we see is perimeters that aren't being used effectively. There's fencing without messaging or inconsistent safety communication. The impact on that is missed communication opportunities and a weaker overall safety impact. The perimeter is often the first thing that workers and visitors will see. So the solution is a large format, highly visible messaging, fence wraps and banners that communicate rules, hazards, and expectations at scale. This reinforces safety before someone even steps into the job site. And Digiday electronic scoreboards. Safety doesn't have to be static and you can make it visible. What we see is a lack of real-time safety communication. Metrics aren't visible and safety messaging doesn't evolve throughout the day. That impact is low engagement, reduced awareness, and especially with heat safety becoming more critical, this creates an additional risk. The solution is dynamic, real-time communication tools, digital displays that can reinforce safety messaging, track performance, and keep safety top of mind. This helps turn safety from something static into something active and visible. Next is our projectors, which are a unique way to deliver safety messaging. They provide a highly visible, durable communication without any wear and tear. They can be used in a single area or across an entire facility. They're very flexible depending on lighting conditions, installation height, and messaging needs. This is a differentiated solution that can help your facilities shine bright with the compliance and safety as well. All right, now I want to shift into a little bit of a different type of challenge, not just visibility, but speed and consistency. The traditional process for custom safety communication has been slow and manual. Emails, PDFs, back and forth proofing, that delay can actually cause real risk on a job site that needs that quickly. Because when solutions take too long, teams default to temporary fixes, those handwritten signs, handwritten tags. And those temporary fixes often become the long-term problems. So what this does is simplify and accelerate that process, faster creation, faster approval, and faster implementation. So instead of delays, you get consistent, accurate communication on the job site when it's needed. This is Design ID Pro. So I'm going to walk through a live demo here really quick and just show you guys what Design ID Pro is and how it can help you. So on our website, accuformnmc.com, we have brand new builders for our safety signage, tags, NFPA, and we'll have much more coming soon over the next year. Taking a look at our OSHA and ANSI signage. In this builder, you're able to customize your sign exactly to what you need. You can select your orientation, whether it's horizontal or vertical. The design will automatically change to match the correct artwork that you need. From there, you can select your different materials and sizes as well. And you'll see once the different materials are selected and different sizes are selected, the live pricing is also updating and the artwork is updating to fit that properly. So now if I go with a big 24 by 36 sign, my artwork and my pricing is updated live right there. Now I can go into my my header designs, and there is a variety of different options there that are OSHA and ANSI. So you can select which one you need from that grouping. And then from there, you're able to select and enter what lines of text that you want. And with the OSHA signage and the ANSI signage, both of them are set up to be correct for that. Correct for that standard. So OSHA signage is all caps, ANSI signage only cap on the top. And in here, you'll also see you can select your pictorials. There are hundreds of different pictorials that you can go through. There's a bunch of different categories that you can also select through where you can pick what you need. And there also is a search tool. So depending on what you're looking for through this, you can select what you need or search. Once you've selected your pictorial, that places that on the sign. And then from here, you have several options. You can email that proof to yourself, to whoever you would like. If you want further customization, you can always email that to AccuForm and we can work with you. You can also save that so that you can customize it or print it for later if you need to order more. Or if you've already saved it, you can always load your own design or load your design back in, or you can add that directly to your cart and purchase it directly from accuform.com. You'll notice I have some other wonderful signs and tags in there that I've created throughout some other demos. But let's jump back into where some of these are, and you'll notice that's where all of the different builders are on our website. With our custom header signs, that's going to be very similar to the OSHA ANSI signs. However, it's just not going to have those regulations tied directly to it. Once again, you can select your horizontal or vertical layout, select your different material, select your size, and you'll get that live pricing there as you go through that process once again. And then with this version, you're able to select your different header background colors as well as your sign background colors. So you have a little bit more flexibility, but again, this is not following any OSHA or ANSI standards. Now within this builder, you'll see that thank you isn't showing up. In this one, you are also able to customize your text colors. So if you wanted to create some really fun signage, there's definitely a lot of options within here that you can do. Change this color really quick. And there you have a beautiful sign. So once again, within these custom builders, you can email, save, or load that, and then also add it to your cart. You can add pictorials through all of this. There are tons of different ways to do it, but you can see that you can create your own sign from scratch in less than 2 minutes. Now, let's take a look at some of our safety tags. First off, our custom OSHA and ANSI tags by the role. This one has several different options, once again, for your headers. Can select from those different options, as well as your back header. Again, these follow all OSHA ANSI regulations. And then from there, you can select your pictorial, go through the very similar, actions with the signs that we have. Once again, lots of images to go through and pictorials that you can select from. Now, you'll notice on that one, I selected white with a white background. make sure that you're selecting that. And thankfully you are able to proof it right here and see it live and living color. So, but here you're also able to select your front background color. You saw some options there. Enter the different text that you want on those lines. And then once again, select your background, your background. There's a few different options there. And you'll notice dependent on the background that you'll select, that's when you can have copy options or not. So there's only two on there, or sorry, one where you're able to add the different copy options with the OSHA ANSI tags. So pretty straightforward. Once again, you can email, save, or load that. And update that as you go through. And see it live proofed. And you'll notice in the pricing there as well, that price is for a roll of 250 tags. You can add that to cart. And then from there, you can always add quantity if you need to. Now let's hop back into our custom site tags photo upload. I think that's where, yep. There are different options though. So with our other tags by the roll, you can go through. This is all live on our website, so you can feel free to poke through all of this. You'll notice in the site tags here, there are different materials to select from as well. And then a couple of different background options as well. So I encourage everyone, go play around with it for what you need. But these are just some additional options that you can include in here. I really want to get to the point of just showing you guys kind of where the photo upload is at. So once again, here's some of the different background options that you can select. Select the blank one here, and then you can put the text and copy on there. Once again, preview your copy and preview everything before it goes to print. And then here, I'm just going to go ahead and select my photo. Pick one from our show the other day and really just zoom in on my face. Really close. Oh yeah, right there. And then you'll see that that shows on the tag as well. So right there, you can add somebody's photo. 25 tags, you'll see the pricing right there, and you can increase your quantity, get as many tags with your face on it as you want, and then add it to cart. So once again, you'll see that this is a really simple tool that we have out there and available for you now to just create all of your own tags, NFPA, and signage that you want. And if you need additional things, you can always email us those proofs. We'll have all of the information on the backside to know the material, size, and everything, so that from there we can help and guide you through exactly what you're looking for your solutions. So really, Design ID Pro simplifies that entire custom process system. I'm sorry, custom process. As you saw, it uses a guided workflow that walks you through step by step. It provides that real-time preview and pricing, includes the built-in compliance logic to help ensure that it meets those design standards, and it allows for your own self-service ordering, reducing that need for back and forth communication. So the result is faster decisions, fewer errors, and more confidence. This is really what it comes down to, is custom made easy. It helps you solve your problems faster. It enables that site-specific solution without the added complexity. There are builders available today, like I just showed you, and more that will be coming soon. This will continue to expand this continues to expand what's available to order and stay compliant all from one place. So the insight here is the more complex the site, the greater the compliance need. This is where everything begins to connect. Instead of those one-off fixes, you can now offer scalable solutions. Standardization across all sites, faster ordering, repeatable processes, and this creates efficiency for your customers and more opportunities for you on your job sites. Now, we've created some additional resources to help support safety communication and compliance efforts. These are all available on our website under our articles and info. So let's kind of review everything that we've talked about so far today. Start small, think bigger, risk less. Start by identifying the gap. What is missing? What's unclear? What's inconsistent? Then begin to understand what that risk can be. So what happens if it's not addressed? From there, you can start with one very clear fix, something visible, something actionable, and then build consistency across the rest of the site. Because improving safety does not require a full overhaul. It starts with making communication clear. Now, the whole theme of the whole presentation is if they don't see it, they don't follow it. And if they don't follow it, the risk increases. And when, not if, risk increases, incidents happen. And that's the gap that we're trying to close. Temporary solutions become permanent, and those become long-term risks. And most of the time, it's not intentional. It's just what happens over time. So standardization reduces that confusion. It helps people recognize what to do faster, and it improves the overall compliance. Because when things look the same across the site, people don't have to think as hard. And that's when safety becomes consistent. So, like I said, improving safety does not require a full overhaul. It starts with making communication clear. Identify the gap, fix one thing, then build consistency. Because safety doesn't fail because people don't care. It fails when communication isn't clear, consistent, and visible. And when you improve visibility, you improve behavior. And when behavior improves, safety improves. And that is how real change happens on a job site. From here, I'm happy to answer any questions or provide any additional information. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Amy. Lots of applause. A few people asking if it will be available. I did forget to mention that we do record as per usual, and we'll make it available on demand so you can revisit or share with colleagues. And I think you have a coworker also, Amy Olson, here to answer questions. I think Kat probably logged in with your your link, maybe.
Must have.
I did.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Great. Well, yeah. Any questions from in the Q&A? I think that was a very thorough presentation, so maybe you answered a lot of the questions. But one question I had watching it, and obviously you touched on how the construction site's changing daily, and
Yes.
I love the programmable on-site solution, so you can be adapting to that as a change. But what based on your experience and what you guys see, if a safety professional could only fix one or two visibility issues on the job site tomorrow, where would you suggest they start?
It depends on the job site.
I would say, yeah, I would say it depends on the job site. And I think really what you want to identify is where's the biggest risk? If OSHA walks in tomorrow and they come through your job site, where are they going to find you the most? So that's not only something that we can help you identify, but if you know what that is and you can target that, that's number one thing I would search for on a job site and say that's what needs to be fixed first.
Yeah, great suggestion. Justin's asking if you can add QR codes to the tags or signs.
I'm gonna let Kat answer that one. We can do pretty much anything custom. Like
Yeah.
we can customize anything. So yes, feel free to reach out to us and we can help walk through that.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
If the question is, can we add QR codes to signs, tags, labels? Yes. If the question is, can you do it on Design ID Pro? No, we don't have that ability just yet. But yes, anything you want to add a QR code to, um, whether it's a tag or a sign, we would just need you to provide us the information, the link where you want that QR code tag to be attached to, and we could just add that to your tags, signs, or labels.
Yep, or if you provided the QR code too in a SVG format.
Right.
But yeah, we can do anything.
Yeah.
We can do anything. Design ID Pro was built to make it so that you guys could do anything also
Right.
without having to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
However, we totally understand like there's going to be certain things that come up that and this is where that email proof can come in really handy. If you create a tag or you create a sign or you create and if whatever you want to create in there. And you go, I love this 99%. I just want my logo or my QR code on the bottom or somewhere on here. You can email that proof, like I said, to us. And then we'll have the order number, we'll have the material, we'll have the size, we'll have all of that information already in the system once it's emailed. And then, from there, we can talk to you about what the customization piece looks like and how many, you need to order. But yes, we are certainly open to doing far more customization than what's available on Design ID Pro. But like I said, it's a tool for that quick, easy, and consistent look to be able to get stuff to your job site.
There's
Yeah.
another question. Can you have any language placed on the sign? That's actually our next step for Design ID Pro is we will be adding bilingual signs on there. Um, Spanish, French, Creole, because we do have some customers in Canada. So that is the next steps in Design ID Pro is you'll be able to, select your different language.
However, if you were to do like an OSHA or an ANSI sign and selected like a French or Spanish header and then put Spanish or French in the custom copy area, that's totally you have that capability as well. But if you wanted to do multiple languages, yes, we're looking at doing support for that soon.
Great. One question that popped into my head as you were going through the presentation, and it might be as much or more for the safety pros on the call, but like how do you in that changing construction environment, what's the process to follow to make sure that you're inventory and updating your signage according to the changing landscape of the job site?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like I said at the beginning of this presentation, I've been in safety for 6 months. So
Yeah.
I would love to hear the answer to that question.
Yeah.
I think that all these guys have some sort of, expertise and years on the job sites out there. It all depends. Like I said, it depends on the work site. Like if you're going to a place where you know that what they're doing is roofing or tiles on roofs, like you want to make sure that these guys have their harnesses on, that they have their hard hats, fall protection, right? So you start to look around and you're like, okay, well, they're wearing their PPE, but you don't see any PPE mention or communication or If someone's walking into a job site, do they make you wear a hard hat as you're walking in and safety glasses? If so, is it at the front? Look at the front when you're walking into a job site, just identifying things that you kind of see on a day-to-day basis. Are there fire extinguishers? If they're in a construction site, are there fire extinguishers? Are they labeled? Would you be able to walk in, and if there's a fire, would you know exactly where that fire extinguisher lives? So it's all these kinds of things that you're used to because you know that they have to be there, but in case of an emergency, are you able to identify where you would go for these hazards?
Right. Henry was asking, is there a site that lists all the OSHA requirements for signage? And having spent time on the OSHA site, it's probably not clearly defined on one page unless I'm missing
I was going to
something.
say, I can, if you want to, we have a guy here at AccuForm who could probably answer that for you, just out of pure memory. I don't, I don't know personally of a specific spot on OSHA's website, because a lot of their, I mean, the book of regulations is, thicker than, yeah, there's a lot of rules within OSHA.
A
So
good place to start would be our construction brochure, the the Fatal 4. That's a good place to start because they're broad product solutions for all
right,
kinds of different construction sites. I know that what you're looking for specifically is
yeah,
OSHA requirements, but I'm sure it changes with the job site. It depends on what the construction is and what they're working on. You're going to find your everyday basic solutions that you're going to need in every job site, but then there's some that they're chemical plants. So you need to be more
Right.
specific with chemicals.
correct.
And so
Yep.
it depends. And I'm sure, yeah, Phil Z, our encyclopedia, could probably
Yes.
tell us where to go on OSHA and find what exactly the requirements are.
Yeah, yeah. Phil could answer that for any vertical, any industry, you're like, hey, we're doing construction on a oil field in the middle of Nebraska, and he'd be like, yep, you need this code, this code, this code. Like, we have that knowledge in house. Where
Yeah.
you can find it on OSHA's website, I don't know. So great question though.
So reach out. So we have Amy and AccuForm NMC's contact information in the slide deck there. We'll have it a link in the description when we post the on-demand version. So definitely Henry and others, if you have those questions, reach out. Sounds like they've
Absolutely.
got a guy. They got a guy
We
for
do.
that.
We've got a guy for that. So
Yeah.
I
Cat.
am typing my information also in there,
Yeah.
chat, my email and my name. So if you guys, have any questions and you can't get a hold of Amy, you can sure send me an email and I will try to find your answer if I don't know it.
Yeah, and I'm dropping a link into our Safeopedia community, and it's a free community for safety professionals to get together and support each other, ask questions, help out with answers. We have regular monthly meetups, and the AD manufacturers definitely participate in those. So I'm sure if we ask nicely, we can get Amy and Kat to come and do a community meetup, maybe bring Phil and
I would
and
love
and
to.
we can get into some of the specific requirements. I know with heat stress and the,
Yeah.
changing
Yes.
regulations, that there's a lot of concerns about what the requirements are going to look like. So I think
Yeah,
that'd be a great conversation.
yeah, I will say heat stress for 2024, and I don't have the exact information right in front of me, but 2024 and 2025, there were some regulation changes, but I believe there are some more coming that are
Yeah,
very, very strict on just temperature and water safety, hydration safety. Um, So yeah, keep an eye out for those.
Yeah.
We'll definitely make sure we can get Phil into one of these community events and share his wealth of knowledge. So
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is that we are working on solutions for this stuff. So be on the lookout for new product solutions coming out in the near future for heat stress.
Yes.
Yeah. We did have a community meetup. We had an OSHA lawyer, Eric Kahn from Kahn Massey Carey, and it was a Wednesday, and he was saying that, the national emphasis program was going to be paused or maybe not extended. And then on Friday it was extended. So it's, you can't, it changes so quickly. You really need
Yes.
to be connected. Again, the Safeopedia community is a great place to be connected, and keep each other updated on these changes. So, like you said, it's much more stringent than it has been in the past, and it's changing quickly. So,
Yes, it is. So,
yeah,
and we'll try to, share that information as we know it's coming out as well. But yeah, make sure you're, keeping an eye on some of those things and yeah, joining the Safeopedia community to keep in the know.
yeah.
So
Well, I don't see any more questions popping up. Again, Kat's dropped her email in there. We'll have Amy's contact information as well. So if you have any questions as they come up, don't hesitate to reach out to the Accuform NMC team. I know they're more than happy to answer questions and help you out. And thanks again for everyone joining us today, choosing to spend their time with us. If yeah, you want to keep the conversation going, like I say, join the community, and we'll have some meetups and continue these discussions. We'll be sending out an email again with the recording and the slide deck that Amy shared today, and definitely share that out with coworkers, and revisit obviously for any details that you might have missed today. And again, once again, a big thanks to everyone for joining, and thank you so much to Accuform NMC for giving a great partner of Safeopedia and the AD Safety Network. And thanks again for supporting us.